Thank you very much. I beg to move that the County Planning, Roads, Pavement and Parking Bill 2018 be read a second time. Madam Speaker, this bill seeks to provide a legislative framework for the planning, construction and maintenance of county roads, streets, lanes, alleys, parking bays, drainage systems, and pavement in each county. Madam Speaker, it also provides for the proper planning and placement of access ways to commercial buildings along major roads within counties. Madam Speaker, the overall object of this bill is to provide a framework for easy access to roads, promote road user safety, ensure easy accessibility to commercial buildings, and promote the development of a well-planned environment in counties. Madam Speaker, as you are aware, under the 4th schedule of the Constitution, transport is a shared function between the national and the county governments. In particular, the county government is charged with the functions of traffic and parking, paragraph 5C of part 2 of the 4th schedule. Further, Madam Speaker, Article 74F of the Constitution of Kenya states that one of the core goals of devolution is the promotion of social and economic development and the provision of easily accessible services throughout Kenya. Madam Speaker, allow me to give a brief overview of the bill. Clause 2 of this bill contains various definitions of terms relevant to the bill. These definitions are necessary for avoidance of doubts and take into account the various jurisdictions of the national government and the county government as concerns roads. Clause 3 of the bill, Madam Speaker, concerns the object and purpose of the Act. These objectives are as follows. 1, provide a framework for the planning and construction of access ways from major roads in each county in a manner that ensures the safety of road users. Madam Speaker, Clause 3B, provide a framework for the planning of commercial buildings along major roads in a manner that ensures that the buildings are accessible and do not lose their commercial viability. And C, promote the development of a well-planned environment in counties in order to achieve unhindered and adequate access to buildings from major roads by members of the public. Clause 4 of the bill, Madam Speaker, outlines the application of this bill, and that is to county roads and all commercial buildings constructed along major roads. The 5th clause in this bill places a set of duties on the county executive committee member responsible for matters relating to roads. Those duties are as follows. A, formulate a comprehensive plan for the construction and maintenance of county roads within the respective county. B, facilitate the design, development, and maintenance of drainage systems along the roads. C, ensure access ways to buildings constructed along national and county roads. D, make provision for and ensure the construction of adequate parking bays in the respective counties. E, ensure the maintenance of county roads. And F, facilitate regular inspections of all the buildings, roads, streets, lanes, alleys, parking bays, and pavements to ensure that they adhere to the prescribed building codes and standards as set out in this Act and any other written law. Madam Speaker, Clause 6, 7, and 8 of the bill contains provisions that obligate each county government to construct and maintain streets, lanes, alleys, parking bays, and pavements. Clause 9 of the bill states that county executive member shall designate areas for use by pedestrians for the purpose of crossing a major roads in the county in a manner that does not interfere with the flow of traffic. This clause requires the CC to ensure the construction of footbridge or any other convenience for use by pedestrians to cross a major road. Clause 10 of the bill contains provisions on accessways to commercial buildings. In this clause, Madam Speaker, the owners of a commercial building situated along a major road shall ensure accessways to present ways are present near major roads. Clause 11 and 12, Madam Speaker, contain provisions on the construction and maintenance of pavements and parking bays by the owners of commercial buildings. The bill contains provisions on the use of pavements in Clause 13. This clause states that a pavement shall only be used by pedestrians in a manner that the county executive member may prescribe. Driving, parking, erecting of structures of hawking are forbidden, and offenders shall be liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 100,000 shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 months. Clause 14 contains provisions on the parking of motor vehicle. It states that a motor vehicle shall not be parked in any area that which is designated as a parking bay, other than that which is designated as a parking bay. The driver of a motor vehicle shall not use a parking bay other than for the purpose of parking his or her motor vehicle and in accordance with the conditions set out by the County Executive Committee member. The contravention of this provision shall result in the offender being liable on conviction of a fine not exceeding 50,000 shillings or to imprisonment of a term not exceeding 3 months or both. The county may also seize the offending motor vehicle, and the vehicle shall only be released upon payment of the required fine and charges. Madam Speaker, Clause 15 contains provisions on designated parking. It states that the county executive member shall designate parking bays for the exclusive parking of petroleum tankers, vehicles in accordance with Section 99 of the Energy Act, and the parking of other heavy commercial vehicles. The clause also states that those vehicles may park outside these designated areas for the purpose of loading or offloading goods where A, the loading or offloading process is continuous. The goods are such weighty that they cannot be reasonably conveyed otherwise by the means of a vehicle. C, Madam Speaker, the vehicle is parked as near as possible to the loading or offloading site, and D, the loading or offloading activity is carried out promptly. A person who contravenes this section, Madam Speaker, commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 200,000 shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 1 year or both. Clause 17 of the bill, Clause 16 of the bill empowers the county executive member to make regulations for the better carrying of the Act. This regulation shall be on prescription of standards for constructions and the use of street lanes, alleys, parking bays, pavement, drainage systems, and other structures prescribed by this Act, as well as prescriptions of the procedure for the application of any approval provided in this Act. Madam Speaker, from the onset I want to say that the reason that led me to come up with this bill is because of the constant road accidents that we see along Nairobi Highway, Waiyaki Highway, particularly on a place where Kangemi is a good example, where people have to cross from one side of the road to the other side of the road, and where you see a lot of hawking, market illegal activities being put along the road. Madam Speaker, this is the cause of disorganization in this country. And I want to be very clear that this bill has got nothing to do with the roads bill, which is currently here in the second reading. This is a bill which is not seeking to create or establish an authority. This is a bill that seeks to carry out various functions that are now devolved. When, Madam Speaker, you look at budgets of each and every county in this country, the first thing you look at in a budget is that there is an estimate of how much they can be able to generate from parking services. Madam Speaker, there is no law that guides the county executive, that really empowers the county executive to be able to set up and designate these parking areas and say, this parking area shall be used by motorcycles. This parking area shall be used by tankers. This parking area shall be used by matatus or any other vehicle. One of the biggest problems we have in this country is that sometimes certain accidents occur because of the obstructions on the road. People crossing from one side to the other. So this bill, once it's in place, Madam Speaker, it will be able to do away with that. Number two, Madam Speaker, for me to be able to demystify this bill, it will be able to help us. Right now, one of the biggest problems we have in this country, Madam Speaker, is where we are overestimating our collections. With this bill and with the executive, the county executive member in charge of transport in, for instance, Narok County, can be able to say, in Narok Town, we have 10,000 parking spots. Out of the 10,000 parking spots, 5,000 of those parking spots are to be used by private vehicles. And we will charge X amount of money per vehicle per day. Even if you give a percentage of, let's say, about 30% of the revenue collected, you can be able to come up with realistic figures of how much money you will be collecting. Number two, Madam Speaker, when you go into our towns, which are designed a long time ago, the building codes, there's no inspections. No one goes out there and say, okay, you have got this building. Now the front of your building, we as the county government of, let's say, Narok County are the ones who are responsible. We bring in vehicles. So somebody with a big tanker comes, parks it there, blocks the business. So even the commercial viability of each and every building, sometimes you can't really tell. Because when somebody comes in, they realize that, well, there's a tanker blocking. I cannot go in and shop. I cannot be able to stop. What this bill, Madam Speaker, is going to do, it is going to enable anyone who is building and has a building which is facing either the highway to be able to turn that building to the other side and create streets. It is only in this country, Madam Speaker, that I've lived in, that I've seen that we do not have streets. Most buildings, when they are constructed in this country, Madam Speaker, the owner of the building, of the commercial building, can only accurately say, these two shops which face the highway will be able to give me, let's say, 20,000 shillings a month in rural areas. Maybe in urban areas, you can say per square foot will be about 100 shillings per square foot. But any other spaces at the back, Madam Speaker, no one is able to tell. Because when I come and I want to shop, I'll only shop in the first two shops. Getting parking might be problematic. So, Madam Speaker, one of the things that this bill is going to help is that the owners of those buildings will be given an opportunity by the regulations that will be developed by the county executive committee in charge of transport to be able to maintain those pavements. Then let's say get into these issues of public-private partnership, where the public is not losing any money. If anything, the public, the owners of the building will be able to maintain their pavements, not putting cabro, not putting bitumen, but using regulations that have been set out. If it is cabro, the entire streets in Narok Town will have cabro. If it is bitumen, the entire streets, or rather the pavement, will be able to have, also be able to have those. If it is bitumen, it is bitumen. Madam Speaker, the other very important thing in this bill is that this bill will help this country. It will help this country be able to reduce the number of people who are killed riding motorcycles in an area which is designated for vehicles. Madam Speaker, with this bill, the county executive committee member of each and every county will be able to designate areas where there are people who, with bikes, can be able to ride their bikes there. People with motorbikes, they can be able to ride their motorbikes. But now, when vehicles, motorbikes, bikes are all competing in one area because there's lack of law and order, of course, the level of accidents will continue increasing, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the other very important thing about this bill, which I hope that members will be able to support, is that it will encourage people in each and every town to be able to think of their commercial properties as all equal, where instead of building your buildings facing the highway, and then when you build them facing the highway, there'll be a lot of illegal, what do you call it, Madam Speaker? A lot of illegal shanties or hawkers. You will be able to create your buildings in a way that when you walk into the building, you can either shop on your right or on the left. And that will help us be able also to reduce the number of all these illegal structures which are constructed on the road reserve. So this bill will help our county governments be able to clearly plan. Where, when you're looking at the worldwide trends, Madam Speaker, I'm concerned that even in this country, with the level of vehicles that we're importing, vehicles that use diesel, that use petrol, where around the world, Madam Speaker, what is happening now is that, particularly in the UK, by 2030, there will be no more vehicles that use petrol or diesel. They will all be using electric vehicles. So what happens, Madam Speaker, now, with all the vehicles that we're importing, and most of them we're importing when they are like 8 years and above, they will all be parked in the streets. They are just left there. With this bill, no one can be able to park any vehicle. Because I'm sure when the world is moving towards electric, even for us, we'll be able to move towards electric. So once we have laws that can be able to clearly state that in this county, Nakuru County, for instance, Madam Speaker, there are 50,000 parking spots. Those parking spots can only be built and they can only be used for generating income. When we have petrol stations, Madam Speaker, the petrol stations which are built along the roads, they've got to be built in a way that they can be able to accommodate these big tankers when they're coming in to be able to offload the petroleum product that they carry, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, this bill really is one that tries to raise income for counties in terms of parking. It is a bill that helps be able to encourage that you leave it for the county government to be able to develop the frontage of your building? Or are you going to incorporate the aspect of the private-public partnership where you build, you develop your frontage, and you use it for the parking of the people who are coming to shop in your premises? Because then, by then, it will also empower the owners of these buildings. Because they know once I've built this property, I have been given the regulations to be able to construct the frontage. From here, I can be able to say, we are going green, Madam Speaker. There are about 20 people who will come with bikes, with bicycles. We will designate an area clearly for bicycles, Madam Speaker. There are those who will come with motorbikes. I will designate. And Madam Speaker, I'll also designate the ones who will come with private vehicle. It is very sad, Madam Speaker, that a lot of people in this country, their businesses, they don't make, you might have the best designer suits. You might have the best pharmacy. But the fact that you do not have a parking area where you can easily park your car and get into a shop and buy and walk away denies you that business, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in the United States of America, most buildings, and when I was thinking about this bill, I looked at other jurisdictions. I looked at other countries on how they handle the issue of pavements and parkings. And in some counties in America, in some states, as the owner of the building, you are given a distance of about 3 meters where you maintain. That place where you maintain, you are given regulations. You clearly mark the parking spots which are there. And you are in partnership with the county government, or rather the town council there. So anyone who comes in and parks there does not have to pay anything. But if you are not, and there are some other buildings, Madam Speaker, that when you park there, you pay that revenue to the county government, or rather to the town councils. So, Madam Speaker, this bill is really a win-win for all of us. It is a win-win for the business community. It is a win-win for the county governments, because now they can clearly say, out of all the parking spots, out of our budget, we know we can budget and say about 50% of all our parking spaces will be able to generate revenue. And this is the time, Madam Speaker, where we are crying. County governments are crying. There is this debate of where people are saying, let us now merge some other counties because of lack of creativity, Madam Speaker. So this bill brings in another creative element to support such that these counties can continue generating revenue. There are so many counties, Madam Speaker, that talks about converting urban areas into becoming municipalities. There's not a lot of thinking behind it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the act that regulates the formation of municipality is very clear. You've got to demonstrate that you can be able to raise local revenue. Most of these counties we have in this country, Madam Speaker, some of them are not able to demonstrate that. Madam Speaker, we also know that there's a lot of money which has been assigned under this urban planning, a lot of money that is coming from the World Bank to plan the urban centers. If we plan these urban centers and we do not have a law in place that can be able to clearly state and say, with the planning of Narok Town, for instance, Madam Speaker, the World Bank is giving us maybe 300 million shillings or more. But if you are giving us, and we do not have a law that can be able to guide us, building codes, be able to designate those parking areas, designate those pavements. In fact, this bill will even help, Madam Speaker, towns that do not have designated parking areas to be able to go in and negotiate with people. I'm very happy with what I'm seeing in this city of Nairobi, Madam Speaker. People, even across from the parliament buildings here, people are no longer building commercial space to lease out. They are now investing in building parking spaces. So when we do so, Madam Speaker, it will only be right if we follow the law, if we have clear regulations, and we also empowers devolution. Madam Speaker, so many times we talk about bills here, and we are only focusing on the national government interest. When are we going to be focusing on county government interest? When are we going to now really fully say the Constitution is very clear? And earlier on, Madam Speaker, I gave reference to Article 174 of the Constitution that promotes the goals of devolution in promotion of social and economic development. Also, I looked at the fourth schedule in terms of the shared duties between both the national government and the county government. It is now time that we now in this House completely push for legislations that will be able to promote devolution. These counties, Madam Speaker, I'm from a different school of thought that believes that the counties that we have, once managed effectively, we can be able to generate a lot of on-source revenue. The only way we can do that, Madam Speaker, is if this House supports this bill, takes the time to look at this bill, and not confuse this bill as me coming up with a bill that is trying to rival or fight the roads bill. Madam Speaker, the history of this country, in terms of legislations which have been brought into this House, most of them have been sponsored by the government. Most of them are designed towards developing authorities. I'm very happy that this House is vibrant. This House has got men and women who take their time to say, I want to live in a good country. It is sad that we travel around the world, Madam Speaker, and we look at the law and order, we look at the way cars are parked. Madam Speaker, in the UK, there are parking areas which are designated for residents. You don't park for free. You've paid either a subsidized rate for the whole year, or you pay on a daily basis if you are not a resident. And where it is necessary, and I would welcome any other amendments to this bill, because I don't purport to say that I have the answers to the problem we have. I'm sure with the support of my able senators or colleagues, we can be able to improve, to bring in other areas, to ensure that it also covers specifically these petrol stations or gas stations which are being developed along our highways. I long for the time, Madam Speaker, that we can say we have our welcome centers, and as part of the income that we get from people coming into our counties, the first is the parking, which will be from each and every county. And it is going to be very clear. I see this country moving forward to a point where people will be going on vacation. I'm sure Senator Kihika in the US traveled maybe in a minivan and from one state to another. And sometimes she will find a place where she can be able to spend the night in the same minivan because they are designed as vehicles. Of course, she paid that. All these things, we need to be thinking forward. We need to be coming up with regulations and laws that can be able to support us. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, or many, many remarks, I beg to move and invite, I'd actually earlier on asked my good friend, Senator, sometimes we forget our name, my leader, to be able to second, but I also ask the majority whip to second, and I now would like, Madam Speaker, to invite my good friend, Senator Susan Kihika, to second this bill. Thank you.
Senator Kihika.
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise